welcome to my channel. My name is Hannah. I read primarily romance, fantasy, and historical fiction, though I am trying to dip my toes in other genres. And today we are going to be doing my top 25 reads of 2025, meaning the 25 books that I am the most excited to read. Some of these are actual 2025 releases, and others are just books that I haven't gotten to that I really want to, and today we're going to talk about all of them. So without further ado, let's get started. I have got my handy dandy computer to help me with all of the notes, because if I was left to my own devices, I would not remember a thing. So we are going to start with the 2025 releases. So all the books that are not out yet or are coming out soon or whatever. All right, first I've got Isola by Allegra Goodman. This is a book that comes out on February 4th, 2025, so very, very soon. And it is a historical fiction that follows a French noblewoman who, after being discovered with her servant lover, is marooned by her guardian on a deserted island and left to fend for herself. The story is about her survival, or perhaps lack thereof. Next one is also historical fiction. You'll notice there's a trend in my historical fiction era, just bear with me. Next up is Victorian Psycho by Virginia Fito. This also comes out February 4th, so February is a very big month for releases, and this is, if you can't tell by the title, based off the American Psycho, and it follows a Victorian governess who gets a new job with the Pound family, looking after the Pound children, and over the course of her first months working there, she really begins to struggle with some desires, some violent desires, coupled with some revelations that she finds out about the Pound family and the Pound children. All of this kind of erupts on Christmas morning, and the book follows that. This is kind of be my first kind of foray into the horror genre. My limit with horror is kind of somewhere between The Witch movie and Nosferatu. Midsummer, way too far. The Conjuring, way too far. But Nosferatu, those, I forgot who, I think it's Robert Eggers. I think he directed both of those. That's my sweet spot with horror. So I'm hoping that this kind of lands within that realm. All right, next up we have Mother of Rome by Lauren J.A. Baer. This comes out January 7th, so by the time that this is up, it will already be out. And this is a story that follows the mother of the legendary founders of Rome, Romulus and Remus. Obviously, this is less historical fiction and more mythology, or I suppose mythology mixed with historical fiction. It's a little bit of both. Sounds really cool, and I love a story about a woman that we know nothing about in history. Next up, we have Black Salt Queen by Samantha Banzo. This comes out June 3rd, 2025, so we're looking quite a bit in the future, but definitely keep your eye out for this one. This is a fantasy set in a pre-colonial island ruled by women, and these women also have magic powers, so again, the fantasy element. But their queen is on the cusp of dying, and her succession is not necessarily looking the brightest. She has an heir who is not the most responsible, who is also very powerful magically. And then there is also another contender who is the matriarch of a rival family, who is definitely seeking to claim some power once this queen dies. And we follow the stories of these women. I believe this is a series, so this is just the first in the series. Next up, we have The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. This comes out on May 20th of 2025. Let me tell you something. I did not like One Dark Window. I know. I did not like One Dark Window. I thought it was like, the magic system was as promised, unique, interesting, but the characters fell so super flat for me. I could not connect to a single one. I didn't care about a single one, and I was quite frankly very happy to finish the duology. But for whatever reason, I see potential in the author. Like, I don't want to give up on the author just yet, and I don't know anything about this book. I don't want to know anything about this book. I really kind of want to go in blind, but it just looks like a book that I would like. Like, the cover looks like a book that I would like, and so I am willing to give Rachel Gillig one more chance before I just say that, you know, maybe this author isn't for me. So we'll see. I'm hesitant about this one. This one may not be the first thing I read in May, but it is definitely something I'm gonna try out by the end of the year. Next up, we have Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. This comes out June 10th of 2025. Again, I don't know much about this one. The Goodreads synopsis doesn't give much away, but I did love Addie LaRue by this author, and she did write on Goodreads that she hasn't put this much of herself in a book since she wrote Addie LaRue. And if that is the case, this book could literally be about whatever. I don't care. It will be in my hands. It does say on the synopsis that it follows 3 women connected across time by magic. So again, there's a little bit of a historical element in there. That's right up my alley. Again, would have been enough with her just saying that she put her heart and soul into this, but that in my hands. June 10th. Keep an eye out. Next, we have Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. I think this one needs no explanation. This is another prequel to the Hunger Games series. This one follows Haymitch and the Quarter Quell. I believe the first Quarter Quell. So we're post Songbirds and Snakes, pre-Hunger Games, and I am planning on doing a read of the entire series, the entire Hunger Games universe, around the time that this comes out, which is March 18th, if I didn't say that, March 18th, 2025. So keep an eye out for that. Very, very excited to do that read because I actually have not read the entire Hunger Games trilogy at all. When I was a kid, I wanted to go to the midnight premiere with my friends, and my mom told me I had to read at least half the book. I only had about 2 days. I spent my entire recess reading half the book, and then once I watched the movie, I was like, all right, good, mission completed, we're done. Never picked it back up again. Kind of regret that now, but we're gonna do a read. We're gonna do the first full read of the Hunger Games. All right, nice. This one, just bear with me. The next 3, just bear with me here. The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy by Bridget Knightley. This comes out July 8th, 2025, and this is a Dramione fanfic, or is inspired by a Dramione fanfic, or just is inspired by Dramione, period. Regardless of which one it is, it's Dramione based, and I spent many an hour in my teen years scouring the internet, scouring Archive of Our Own, fanfiction.net, Quotev, Wattpad for Dramione fanfiction. So I say less. Will be in my hands on July 8th. And I'm just glad to see that ships outside of Reylo, like fanfic ships outside of Reylo, are getting their chance to shine, because for so many years now, we have just been inundated with constant Reylo inspired books. And that's fine, but you know, let Dramione have their moment. They're finally getting their moment. Thank you. Let me preface these next 2 by saying that I have a particularly guilty pleasure for the Why Choose subgenre of romance, and if it has fated mates, I mean, that's just an add-on. I love this subgenre. I don't know what that says about me, but I do. So I am really looking forward to Roaring Flames by Katie May, which comes out January 10th. So it should be out by the time that this video goes up. I think it comes out the day this video goes up. I assume that it's going to be a longer series, but this is the second book, and it has werewolves, vampires, and mages who are all fated to this one girl. Don't ask me how that works. The first book didn't give a ton away. So we're kind of working on a limited knowledge basis here. Is it a little ridiculous? Absolutely. I don't mind. I will eat it up. This Friday. Next up, we have Lance by Jane Washington, which comes out June 24th, 2025. This is the 6th book in probably my favorite Why Choose series that I have read to date. I am obsessed. It lives rent-free in my brain. I spent an entire week in September of last year binging the first 4 books of this series and just sitting on my hands, like gnawing at the bars of my enclosure, waiting for the 5th book to come out in December, which I then ate up in like 2 days. So this series is one where we follow a girl named Isabel. She goes to this academy called Ironside Academy. And the special thing about Ironside Academy is that it also functions as a reality TV show. Basically, they're trying to win it to get out of like the settlements for the gifted and move into the human world where they'll have like more economic opportunities and security. To do so, they kind of have to become famous. They have to, you know, get the support of the fans watching. And so that's what this is. At this academy, she meets 10 guys, and does have a fated mates element. You know where it goes from there. That's all I'm gonna say. It is slightly cringe at times. Like, there are some like very cringe moments, but overall the plots, the characters actually have development, and the romance is a really good slow burn. So I would highly recommend that you read Ironside Academy if you enjoy Why Choose. Now let's do our non-2025 releases. So these are books that are already out, but I just either didn't get to them last year or just discovered them at the very tail end of last year, and so I guess it just also didn't get to them, and I'm really wanting to get to them this year. We are going to start out by kind of an odd choice, and that is Realm Breaker by Victoria Aveyard. I've been watching Victoria Aveyard on TikTok for probably like a year now, and after this whole discourse with like Powerless and Red Queen and plagiarism and all that, I don't know, I just feel the need to read one of her books, and I feel like Realm Breaker is kind of my preferred choice for that. It is a kind of classic Chosen One story. We follow Corianne and Amarat, who gets told that only she has the power to save the world from an impossible foe. Again, classic Chosen One trope. I'm here for it. I'm ready to try it. I'm ready to read it. Next up, we have Legendborn by Tracy Dion. This is a book that has gifted kids academies, secret magical societies, a mystery, and a brewing war. So a lot going on there. I don't know much more than that, I'll be honest with you, but I literally have heard nothing but good things. Like, literally nothing. I don't think I've seen a single bad review of this book from anybody across the board. So we're gonna give it a try. I'm excited for it. So the next one is kind of like a either or. I want to read either The Secret History or If We Were Villains, and I don't care which one, simply because I've heard that they're kind of similar. I have discovered that I really love academia in books and themes of academia in books, so I'm definitely going to like one of these, and I've heard they're very thought-provoking, but I just want to see what all the hype is about, guys. Which one should I pick, though? Next up, we have Babel by R.F. Kuang, another classic in the book talk, booktube world. I feel like everyone's read this but me. I've never read an R.F. Kuang. I kind of want this to be my first R.F. Kuang. Next up, we have Immortal Dark by Tigest Girma. Vampires are back, baby. Vampires are back. I saw Nosferatu. I looked at Immortal Dark and I said, I'm so sad that I didn't get to you in October. That was my fault. I've heard kind of mixed reviews about the book. Vampires. I don't know. I'll read anything with a vampire. So Immortal Dark. Next up, we have Where the Dark Stands Still by A.B. Poranek. I believe this is a fantasy based on Polish mythology. I recently read When Among Crows by Veronica Roth, which also centered around Polish mythology, so I'm a little bit familiar, but this centers around tricky, sinister bargains that cause many a problem for our main character. And I also wrote that it's possibly also a romantasy. There is clearly a man on the cover. Next up, we have Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I don't know anything about sci-fi genre. I tried to read Dune. I put that down quick. That was too much for me. I think Red Rising is that entryway middle ground. Like, if you want to read sci-fi, this is a good place to start. And the fan art that I've seen of this series, oof. I mean, it just looks so epic, and so I must consume. Next up, we have Jade City by Fonda Lee. This is like a classic urban fantasy that everyone in like the fantasy online community seems to rave about. I have not read it. I have the first book sitting on my shelf and I have not read it. It must be read. And I have heard, this is what I wrote. I said, an urban fantasy classic compared to The Godfather that follows the Call family who control the island of Kikon and its supply of the magical jade. Looks like it's gonna have some family politics and drama, and I will eat that up every single time. Next up, we have The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. This is another fantasy series, I believe urban fantasy series or futuristic urban fantasy. I actually read the first 2 books back in 2021 and I don't remember a single thing about them. I remember thinking that the first book was okay and not really liking the second book, but since I read those books, she has, I think, rewritten them and re-released them with like new edits and things like that. So I am willing and desiring to give this another shot. The cover's gorgeous, and I really loved Priory of the Orange Tree, which I read in 2023 by this author, so I have some hopes for this reread. Next up, I have Angels Before Man by Raphael Nicolas. This is a queer retelling of Satan's Fall, where Lucifer and Michael have, the angel Michael, have a kind of friends to lovers moment, and obviously it deals with like religious themes as well. I've heard really good things. It looks really good. I don't even know how I found this book. I don't remember what I was looking up. I saw it on like a, you know, readers also enjoyed on Goodreads, and it's been on my to read list ever since. So it will get read this year. I'm genuinely so excited for that. Next up is Between Two Fires by Christopher Buehlman. This is a historical horror set in 1348 following a disgraced knight and a young girl who is the sole plague survivor in her Norman village. She also, I believe, has like visions of some kind, like religious visions of some kind, but don't quote me on that. Again, a foray into horror, nervous steps, but I can't deny a historical fiction, especially set in the Middle Ages. Like, I have to. I literally have to. I have to read it. Like, it calls to me too much. The cover even just like just calls to me. Next, we have a nonfiction. This is the only nonfiction on this list. It's not the only nonfiction that I want to read this year. I do have other nonfictions, but this is kind of like tip top of the list. And that is Femina by Janina Ramirez. And these are just stories of the Middle Ages told through women who were often cut out or left out of the historical record. Next up, we are gonna jump into kind of like my romance section of this video. We only have 3 left, so this isn't going to take very long. Clearly I have a lot of romance, and all of them I do want to read, but these are the top of my list. And the first one is the Gold Rush Ranch series by Elsie Silver. I read the Chestnut Springs series last year. I thought it was good. Like, this is what my boyfriend said when I explained it. He's like, so it was a good out of great. And I was like, yeah, it was a good out of great. Like, it wasn't, oh my gosh, I like literally will think about this series every day for the rest of my life, but it was like good. I had fun with it and I wanted to read more, and she's got a whole other series for me to consume, and it is the prequel series to Chestnut Springs. All I need to know. Ripe for summer reading. Next one is also a summer read, and that is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I've never had the desire to pick up Emily Henry, never in my life. I just don't know what it is about it, that her books that I'm like, I don't think I like them. But when those set pictures came up with Tom Blythe, sparked an interest real quick, that's what I'll say. So that will be read during the summertime before that movie comes out. The last one that I have on this list, the last of the 25, is Any Summer Book by Carly Fortune. Notice how I didn't even say what specific one. I don't care which one it is. Those books, despite the mixed reviews that I've heard for every single one of them, like I don't think I've heard someone say, oh my gosh, these are my favorite books like ever, these are great summer reads. I don't care. These look like these look like I'm taking you to the beach. You will be read in the sunlight. I'm not leaving the beach without this book completed. And that's what will happen this coming summer. I will be at the beach with a Carly Fortune book. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If I leave this year and I haven't read every single one of these books, I failed. They're my top 25. Like, they have got to get read. So please keep an eye out for the videos in which I do read them, and let me know in the comments which 2 reads are your most anticipated for 2025. One that comes out in 2025 and one that is already out. And I will see you next Friday for another video.